The Grand Council chamber of the galaxy was silent. It was a massive hall made of black crystal and living metal. Stars could be seen through the transparent ceiling. Hundreds of alien leaders floated, stood, or hovered in their assigned circles. Some had wings, some had scales, some were only light inside energy fields. At the center of the chamber stood one human, Ambassador Elias Varan of Earth. His hands were locked in glowing restraints. His uniform was torn but clean. His face showed no fear. Above him, on a raised platform of silver stone, floated the rulers of the Galactic Union. In the middle sat Supreme Chancellor Threx of Threx. His tall, thin body shimmered with blue light. His eyes were cold and sharp. A voice echoed across the chamber, "Elias Varan of Earth, you stand accused of deception, illegal military expansion, and violation of galactic trust." A low wave of whispers moved across the hall. The human did not bow. He looked up. "We expanded," Elias said calmly. "Yes." Gasps filled the chamber. He was not denying it. Threx leaned forward. "You admit it." Elias nodded once. "We built defenses. We prepared fleets. We strengthened our borders." The chamber lights dimmed slightly, as if reacting to tension. "You joined the Union under peace," Threx said. "You promised cooperation. Instead, you prepared for war." Elias took a slow breath. "We prepared for survival." The words echoed. Some leaders shifted uncomfortably. Others stared with anger. Threx's voice became colder. "There is no known threat that requires such action. The galaxy has been stable for centuries." Elias's eyes hardened. "That is not true." Silence. Even the floating drones stopped moving. Elias continued. 37 years ago, a deep space probe from Earth crossed beyond mapped space. It detected something moving between stars. Threx waved one glowing hand. "Unverified human myths." "It was not a myth," Elias said firmly. "It was recorded, studied, classified." "Then why was this not shared?" another council member demanded. Elias looked around the chamber. "We tried." The words hung heavy in the air. "You dismissed it," he continued. "You said it was censor error. You said humanity was paranoid." A few council members avoided his gaze. Threx's tone sharpened. "Because no other civilization reported such a thing." Elias stepped forward as far as his restraints allowed. "Because it does not attack loud civilizations first." Confusion spread across the chamber. Threx narrowed his glowing eyes. "Explain." Elias's voice dropped lower. "It hunts the strong." A soft ripple of laughter came from one side of the chamber. "The galaxy is strong," one leader said. Proudly, Elias did not smile. "That is why it is coming." The laughter stopped. Threx's energy field flared brighter. "Fear tactics will not save you." "This is not fear," Elias replied. "It is a warning." He turned slowly, looking. At the many alien faces, humanity found dead systems, entire star regions without life, not destroyed, not burned. His voice became even quieter. Erased. The word felt heavy. Stars still shining, planets still orbiting, but no signals, no ships, no cities. He looked back at Threx. "We studied the pattern. We saw its path. It moves slowly. It waits. It observes." "And what is this so-called threat called?" Threx asked with open sarcasm. Elias hesitated for a brief moment. "We named it the Silence." The chamber felt colder. "It does not speak," Elias continued. "It does not send messages. It does not negotiate." "And yet you survived," Threx said sharply. Elias's jaw tightened. "Barely." The council members leaned forward. "We survived because we went quiet," he explained. "We reduced energy use. We shut down colonies. We moved fleets without signals. We hid." A tall, insect-like delegate snapped its claws. "You expect this council to believe that hiding is strength?" Elias looked directly at it. "Sometimes survival is." Threx raised his hand, silencing the room. "This council sees no evidence," Threx said. "Only a human species building weapons and spreading fear." Elias's expression changed for The first time, there was frustration in his eyes. "You think we built weapons for you?" he asked. His voice rose slightly. "If we wanted war with the Union, we would not send one unarmed ambassador." The chamber went still again. Threx's light flickered. Elias continued. "We built defenses because your energy networks are like beacons. Your hyperspace lanes shine across galaxies. You are loud." He looked up at the ceiling where distant stars were visible. "And it hears loud things." A sudden alert tone echoed faintly from the chamber walls. Just for a second, everyone froze. The sound stopped. Technicians checked their devices. "Minor sensor glitch," one of them reported quickly, but Elias had heard it. He closed his eyes briefly. "It has reached the outer rim, hasn't it?" No one answered. Threx's expression did not change. "You stand here accused," Threx said firmly. "Do not attempt to shift blame with stories." Elias slowly opened his eyes. "I am not shifting blame." He straightened his back. "I am giving you a choice." The council erupted in anger at his words. "You have no authority here. You are on trial. You dare threaten the Union?" Elias waited until the noise faded. "I am not threatening you," he said softly. I'm telling you that Earth will go dark." The room became quiet again. "We will shut down our signals. We will close our borders. We will protect our people." Threx's voice turned sharp as a blade. "You will do no such thing." Elias gave a small, almost sad smile. "You cannot stop us." That was the final insult. Threx rose to his full height. "Elias, Baron of Earth," he declared, "for deception and unlawful militarization, you are sentenced to immediate execution." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some leaders looked shocked, others satisfied. Elias did not resist as the guard stepped forward. A glowing energy blade formed in the air beside him. He looked once more at the council, at their power, at their pride. "You still have time," he said. Threx did not respond. The blade moved closer. Elias took one final breath. "You think you killed Earth's voice," he said clearly. The blade touched his chest. "You just removed the only shield you had." The energy flashed. The chamber lights flickered violently. Alarms screamed across the hall. This time it was not a glitch. A sensor officer shouted in panic. "Unknown fleet detected beyond the Andros belt." The chamber filled with chaos. "How large?" Threx demanded. The officer's voice shook. "It is not using hyperspace lanes." The main star map appeared in the center of the chamber. Dark shapes moved between stars. Slow, massive, silent. "No energy signature," another technician whispered. One by one, outer colonies vanished from the map. Not destroyed, just gone. Threx stared at the fading lights. For the first time, the Supreme Chancellor felt something unfamiliar. Fear. At the center of the chamber, smoke still rose where Elias had stood. His final words echoed in every mind. "The only shield you had." And far beyond the rim of the galaxy, something ancient continued moving forward, quietly. The Grand Council chamber was no longer silent. Alarms rang across the entire Galactic Union network. Red warning lights flashed in every major system. Leaders who once spoke with pride now spoke in panic. 3 outer colonies near the Andros belt had gone dark. No explosion. No distress call. No debris. Just silence. Supreme Chancellor Threx stood in the War Command Center of the capital world. The room was filled with floating star maps and tactical screens. Officers rushed from one station to another. "Show me the last transmission from Outpost K-17, Threx ordered. A hologram appeared. It showed a peaceful mining station orbiting a small blue star. Workers moved normally. Ships entered and exited the dock. Then something strange happened. The light from the star dimmed, not fully, just slightly. One worker looked up at the sky. The recording froze. Signal lost. Threx felt a cold wave move through his body. "Was there an attack?" he asked. "No weapons fire detected," an officer replied. "No radiation." No debris field. Another officer spoke, voice shaking. Sensors show gravitational distortion before signal loss. Cause? Threx demanded. Unknown. The Yar. Word echoed in the room. Far away in the outer defense ring, Admiral Cora Vesh watched the same data. She was commander of the 3rd Union Fleet. Her face was calm, but her eyes showed concern. Send reconnaissance drones, she ordered. Passive mode only. No hyperspace lanes. Yes, Admiral. She remembered the human's words. It hunts the strong. She pushed the thought away. Hours later, the first drone feed returned. The image showed empty space where outpost K-17 had been. The planet was still there. The star was still shining. But the station was gone. Not broken. Not destroyed. Gone. Zoom. Admiral Vesh said. The drone moved. Closer to the planet's surface, cities were visible, but they were dark, no lights, no movement. Scan for life signs. The scan ran. Result: 0. The entire colony of 4 million beings had vanished. The room fell silent. This is impossible, one officer whispered. Admiral Vesh spoke quietly. No, it is happening. Back on the capital world, Threx refused. To show fear. This could be a new weapon, he said to the council members connected by hologram. Perhaps a rival power. There is no rival power strong enough, one member replied. Another leader spoke slowly. The human warned. Us, Threx's eyes flashed with anger. The human is dead. Yes, the leader answered, and perhaps that was our mistake. Before Threx could respond, another alert appeared. 2 more systems had gone dark. The dark shapes on the outer rim map were moving, slowly but steadily. They were not using hyperspace lanes. They were moving through deep space, without energy trails, without signals, like shadows between stars. Admiral Vesh studied the movement pattern. They are not random, she said. They are choosing high-energy systems. What do you mean? Her second-in-command asked. They strike near major power grids, trade hubs, communication centers. She turned toward the main display. Track every high-output energy signature in Union space. The map changed color. Bright systems glowed, like stars in a dark ocean, and the dark shapes were moving directly toward them. They are following our light, the officer whispered. Admiral Vesh remembered another sentence from the human ambassador. Your hyperspace lanes shine across galaxies. You are loud, her hands tightened. Bring me the human data archives, she ordered. Admiral? The officer looked confused. The human ambassador mentioned evidence, reports, deep space probes. But those files were classified and rejected. Then unreject them. Moments later, a hidden file opened on her screen. It contained a recording from a human deep space vessel, dated 37 years earlier. The image was unstable. Stars flickered in the background. Then a dark shape passed across the camera, not solid, not clear, like a shadow moving through light. The human captain's voice played. We are reducing output. All systems to minimum. Something is following energy spikes. The recording ended abruptly. Admiral Vesh felt her pulse. Quicken. They survived by going quiet, she said to herself. Another alert interrupted her thoughts. Admiral, System Velor Prime just vanished. Velor Prime was one of the largest industrial planets in the Union. Population, 8 billion primary power output. Extreme. The map showed it clearly. A bright star, then darkness. The entire system disappeared. From sensors. No explosion. No debris. Nothing. The officers stared at the empty space on the map. One of them whispered, It is erasing us. At that same moment in the council chamber, Threx received a direct military update. Velor Prime is gone, the officer reported. Threx's energy field flickered violently. How? No explanation. A council member spoke in a low voice. Chancellor, we executed the only being who understood this. Threx remained silent. For the first time, doubt entered his mind. Had pride blinded him? Another transmission came in. This one was different. It was weak, broken, from a small scientific outpost near the rim. The audio was full of static. They do not attack like ships. They bend space. They react to power. Screaming filled the background. Then silence. Admiral Vesh made a decision. Shut down non-essential systems across the Third Fleet, she ordered. Admiral, that will weaken our defense. We are not fighting something that uses weapons, she replied. We are attracting something that hunts energy. The fleet dimmed its power output. Lights faded, engines slowed. The ships became quiet in the void. For several hours, nothing happened. Then the sensors detected movement. A massive dark form approached the position of a bright defense station 20 light-years away. The station fired energy cannons. Bright beams cut through space. They passed through the dark shape. No. Damage. Then the station disappeared. Not destroyed. Gone. The dark form shifted direction. It began moving toward Admiral Vesh's fleet. Her officers panicked. Admiral, it has changed course. She stared at the power readings. Their fleet was no longer glowing brightly. They were quiet. The dark shape slowed. It moved past them, as if they were not there. Every officer in the command room stopped breathing. The creature continued forward, toward a nearby trade world still shining with full power. Admiral Vesh felt cold fear. It ignores the quiet, she whispered. Back on the capital world, Threx watched system after system fade from the map. The Galactic Union was powerful, ancient, proud, but it was also loud, and something ancient was hunting that light. Threx turned slowly to his advisors. Prepare. A transmission to Earth. The room went still. Chancellor, one advisor asked. Threx's voice was no longer filled with pride. It was heavy. We need the humans. Far beyond the capital, near the edge of the Sol system, hidden defense platforms, activated silently. Earth had already gone dark, and humanity was watching. The message from the Galactic Union traveled across space at maximum speed. It carried the official seal of Supreme Chancellor Threx. It carried a simple request. We seek dialogue with Earth. But when the transmission reached the edge of the Sol system, there was no answer. No signal returned, no automated greeting. Nothing. The Union communication officers tried again. Still nothing. Supreme Chancellor Threx stood in the command center, staring at the silent screen. Boost the signal, he ordered. It is already at maximum range, Chancellor. Then send a physical envoy ship. Within hours, a diplomatic cruiser left Union space. It traveled without weapons. Its mission was simple. Contact Earth. Apologize if necessary. Ask for help. The ship entered the outer edge of the Sol system 2 days later. Immediately, its sensors went blind. Unknown interference field detected, the captain reported. Stars disappeared from view. Communication signals were distorted. Then something appeared in front of the cruiser. Massive structure. It was not broadcasting power. It was not glowing. It was almost invisible against the dark. But it was there. A defense platform, then another, and another. Hundreds of silent platforms surrounded the system like a steel forest. The Union captain swallowed, scanning power levels. The result shocked the crew, minimal. The structures were running at extremely low energy, yet they were clearly active. A single tight beam signal finally reached the cruiser. It was narrow, direct, controlled. Union vessel, you are approaching. Restricted space. The voice was human. Calm. Steady. This is diplomatic cruiser Valen, the captain replied. We request contact with Earth leadership. There was a pause. Then the human voice answered. State purpose. The captain hesitated. We seek cooperation against the threat in the outer systems. Another pause. Longer this time. Then a new signal appeared. A holographic image formed inside the cruiser's bridge. A human woman stood in a dark command room. Her uniform carried Earth Fleet insignia. Her face was serious. I am Admiral Naomi, Reyes of the Earth Defense Command, she said. Behind her, officers moved quietly in a dimly lit room. No bright screens, no glowing displays. Everything was low light. The Union captain spoke carefully. Admiral Reyes, the Galactic Union requests assistance. Unknown entities are destroying systems. The ambassador, Elias Varon, warned us. Reyes's eyes hardened. You executed Ambassador Varon. The captain lowered his head slightly. Yes. Reyes did not raise her voice. He stood in your council chamber alone, unarmed. He carried data. You called it fear. The captain remained silent. Behind him, Union officers avoided eye contact, Reyes continued. Earth withdrew from the Union network immediately after his execution. All hyperspace beacons shut down. All trade routes sealed. She stepped slightly closer to the camera. We warned you, the captain took a breath. Admiral, billions are dead. Reyes did not look surprised. Yes. The captain felt a cold weight in his chest. You knew this would happen. We knew it was possible, Reyes replied. That is why we prepared. The Union cruiser's sensors suddenly came back online for a brief moment, and what they detected made the crew freeze. Thousands of human ships. They were not arranged in bright formations. They were scattered, hidden in asteroid fields, orbiting planets in darkness, running on extremely low power. The Union captain stared at the readings. These fleets, they were not reported to the Union. They were not meant to be, Reyes said. You built an army in secret. Reyes shook her head slightly. We built a shield. She turned her camera view outward. The cruiser's bridge display changed. The Sol system appeared, but it was different. Cities on Earth were dim. Orbital stations ran on reduced power. Large areas of space were intentionally dark. You see weakness, Reyes said. We see invisibility. The captain spoke slowly. Our fleets fired on the entities. Weapons passed through them. Reyes nodded. Yes. Energy weapons are useless. You knew? We tested it years ago, she answered. The captain felt shock rising inside him. Then how do you fight them? Reyes's expression did not change. You don't fight them with power. At that moment, an alert came from the cruiser's sensor station. Captain, a dark mass just entered the outer Sol boundary. The crew panicked. It followed us, one officer shouted. Reyes's voice remained calm. Power down your main reactor immediately. The captain hesitated. If we shut down, we lose shields. Do it, Reyes ordered. Now. Something in her tone made him obey. The cruiser's lights dimmed, engines slowed, shields went offline. The ship drifted in near silence. On the screen, space twisted. A dark shape moved near the edge of the system. It was massive, like a shadow stretching between stars. The crew held their breath. The entity moved closer, closer. Then, it slowed. It shifted direction and passed by the cruiser, as if the ship was nothing, as if it did not exist. The bridge was completely silent. Reyes spoke softly. They see power. They feel energy. Without it, you are background noise. The dark shape continued toward a distant bright object, one of Jupiter's old fusion mining stations. Still running at high output, the station's lights shined brightly. It did not power down in time. The dark shape touched it, and the station vanished. No explosion, no debris, just empty space. The Union captain felt fear like never before. Reyes looked directly at him. That is what Ambassador Varon tried to explain. The captain swallowed. Chancellor Threx requests direct communication. Reyes paused, then nodded once. We will speak with him. She leaned slightly closer. But understand this. Her voice became harder. Earth will not rejoin the Union. The captain blinked. Then what happens now? Reyes answered without hesitation. We survive. The hologram faded. The Union cruiser remained drifting quietly in the dark. Far away in the capital system, Chancellor Threx watched the live feed of the encounter. He saw the human fleets. He saw their silence. He saw the dark entity pass by the powerless cruiser. And for the first time, he understood the meaning of Elias Varen's final words. You removed the only shield you had. The Union had chosen pride. Earth had chosen patience. And now, the galaxy was burning in silence. The galaxy had always believed in strength. Big fleets, bright cities, powerful reactors, fast hyperspace lanes. Strength meant survival. But now, strength was becoming a death signal. The next target was Karth Prime. Karth Prime was not just another world. It was a symbol of Union power, a planet covered in shining towers and orbiting shipyards. Its power grid could be seen from space like a second sun. It was loud, very loud. Admiral Cora Vesh stood on the bridge of her flagship watching the system from a safe distance. She had already ordered half her fleet to power down, but Karth Prime refused. We will not hide, the planetary governor had said. We are the heart of the Union. Admiral Vesh remembered those words as she watched the long-range sensors. Energy levels? She asked. Still at maximum, her officer replied. They are broadcasting defiance, another officer said quietly. Vesh closed her eyes for 1 second. They are broadcasting their location. Then the distortion began. At first, it looked like space itself was bending. Stars near Karth Prime stretched into thin lines. Gravity readings spiked. Contact confirmed, the sensor officer whispered. A dark mass appeared near the outer edge of the system. It did not warp in, it did not flash, it simply existed. The shape was larger than any Union ship, not solid, not clear, like smoke shaped into something alive. On Karth Prime, panic spread across the surface. Defense cannons powered up, orbital fleets formed battle lines, energy shields covered the planet like glowing armor. The governor transmitted one final message to the Union. We will show the galaxy that we are not weak. Admiral Vesh watched silently. The orbital fleet fired first. Bright beams of plasma and antimatter shot toward the dark mass. The beams passed through it. No impact, no reaction. The dark mass shifted slightly, almost curious. Then it moved forward, closer, to the planet. Energy output from Karth Prime increased even more. Shields strengthened, weapons charged again. They are feeding it, Vesh whispered. On her bridge, every officer watched in horror. The dark mass reached the first defense line. Ships vanished instantly, not destroyed, not broken, just erased. Gaps appeared in the fleet formation. Pilots screamed over open channels. The dark shape did not speed up. It moved slowly, calmly, as if time did not matter. Within seconds, the outer fleet was gone. Karth Prime's shield flared brightly as the entity touched it. For a brief moment, the shield held, then the light bent inward. The shield folded into itself and disappeared. On the surface, cities lost power. Skyscrapers went dark. Communication stopped. Admiral Vesh stared at the sensor readings. Life signs? She asked. The answer came back flat. None. The entire planet of 12 billion beings, gone. The star still burned above it, the planet still orbited, but it was empty. A dead shell. The dark mass lingered for a few seconds, then it moved on. Searching, always searching. On the bridge, no one spoke. One officer began to shake, another turned away from the screen. Admiral Vesh felt something heavy in her chest. This was not war. This was harvesting. She opened a secure channel to the Union capital. Chancellor Threx, she said. His hologram appeared. His once bright energy field looked dimmer now. You saw it? She said. Yes, Threx answered quietly. Karth Prime refused to power down. Threx did not reply. They believed strength would protect them, Vesh continued. Threx finally spoke. We built our civilization on light, and now the light is killing us, Vesh replied. There was silence between them. Then another officer interrupted. Admiral, Multiple dark masses detected. They are splitting. The main screen showed the terrifying truth. The entity near Karth, Prime, had divided into 3 smaller forms, each one moving toward another bright system. They multiply, an officer whispered. Vesh clenched her hands. No, she said. They distribute. She looked at Threx. They are efficient. Across the galaxy, more systems began to dim. Some planets had learned from earlier attacks. They shut down reactors. They went dark. Those systems were ignored. But many others hesitated. Shutting down meant economic collapse. Chaos. Fear. Some leaders believed the threat would pass them by. They were wrong. One by one, bright systems vanished. The Union fleet tried new tactics, projectile weapons, missiles, even physical ramming attempts. Nothing worked. The dark forms reacted only to energy. The brighter the target, the faster the destruction. On Earth, Admiral Naomi. Reyes watched the same data. Her command room was almost completely dark. Low-power screens showed Union systems fading. Her officers remained calm, prepared. One young officer spoke softly. We could save some of them. Reyes nodded slowly. Yes, but not all. She turned to a large map of the galaxy. Human territory was nearly invisible. Low output. Minimal hyperspace activity. Quiet. We survived because we changed, she said. She remembered the early days. When the first human probe recorded the silence, consuming a small alien empire beyond mapped space. At first, humanity did not understand what they were seeing. But they studied. They tested. They sacrificed colonies to confirm the pattern. Energy attracted it. Noise called it. So humanity went quiet. They redesigned cities to run on minimal power. They built analog systems. They reduced hyperspace use. They even created false energy signatures far from Earth to distract the entity. It had worked for decades. But now the Union had lit up the galaxy like a beacon. And the silence had answered. Back in Union space, Admiral Vesh made a painful choice. All fleets, she ordered. Immediate low power. Protocol. Shut down hyperspace lanes. Disable high-output reactors. Admiral, that will cripple trade and communication. Yes, she said. But it will save lives. The orders spread slowly. Some obeyed instantly. Others argued. Some refused. Those who refused disappeared. Hours later, the galaxy looked different. Large sections were dark. Quiet. The dark entities moved through space like predators in a forest. They passed by dim systems without pause, but when they found brightness, they erased it. Chancellor Threx stood alone in the council chamber where Elias Varen had died. The room felt colder now. He looked at the empty spot on the floor. The human had not begged. He had warned, and they had killed him. Threx finally understood the truth. The execution had not doomed Earth. It had doomed the galaxy, because Earth had been ready. The Union had not. Outside the chamber windows, distant stars flickered as more worlds fell into silence. The galaxy was no longer bright. Trade lanes were dark. Shipyards were silent. Whole regions had powered down in fear. The Galactic Union still existed, but it was wounded, and it was afraid. In the council chamber, only a few leaders remained. Many of their worlds were gone. Others had cut communication to survive. Supreme Chancellor Threx stood at the center. For the first time in centuries, the Union was not leading. It was begging. Open the channel to Earth, Threx ordered. The signal was sent through a narrow, low-power beam. No bright broadcast. No loud declaration, just a quiet request. This time, Earth answered. Admiral Naomi Reyes appeared again on the main display. Her command room remained dim. Behind her, human officers moved with calm focus. Threx did not speak with pride now. Admiral Reyes, he said slowly, the Union requests assistance. Reyes watched him carefully. Assistance requires trust, she replied. Threx lowered his head slightly. You warned us. No, Reyes said. Ambassador Varen warned you. The name filled the chamber with weight. Threx closed his eyes briefly. We were wrong. The words felt heavy in his mouth. Reyes studied him. Billions are dead, she said. Yes. And more will die. Yes. Silence followed. Then Threx asked the question he feared most. Can you stop them? Reyes did not answer immediately. She turned slightly and a new image appeared on the screen. It showed a deep space recording from years ago, a small alien empire beyond known maps, bright cities, huge energy grids. Then the arrival of a dark mass. Within minutes, everything vanished. The recording ended. We cannot destroy the silence in open battle, Reyes said. Then what can you do? Threx asked. We can trap them. The council members leaned forward. Reyes continued. The silence exists partially outside normal space. That is why energy weapons pass through them. But when they feed, when they consume large energy sources, they become more physical for a short time. Threx's eyes sharpened. A weakness. A small one, Reyes replied. But enough. She brought up another image. A diagram of space folding around a high-energy core. When they focus on a strong power source, they anchor themselves. For a few seconds, they are vulnerable to gravitational distortion and mass-based weapons. The council members looked confused. Threx spoke. You are saying we must use less energy to fight them? Yes. That makes no sense. Reyes's voice hardened slightly. You are thinking like the old Union? She changed the image again. Now it showed human fleets, dark, scattered, quiet. We do not fight them with brightness, she said. We bait them. Threx felt a slow understanding grow. You create a controlled light? Yes. And when they move toward it, we collapse space around them. One council member spoke nervously. That would require enormous precision. Reyes nodded. It does. She looked directly at Threx. We have been building those systems for 30 years. The chamber fell silent again. 30 years. Humanity had prepared for something the Union had refused to believe. Threx finally asked the question that had been growing inside him. Why did you not leave the galaxy? Reyes answered without hesitation. Because this is our home. The words were simple, but they carried weight. Earth could have hidden forever. Instead, it had stayed. Prepared. Waiting. Threx straightened. What do you require from us? Reyes did not hesitate. Obedience. The word shocked the chamber. Some leaders reacted with anger, but Threx raised his hand. He understood now. Pride had already cost too much. You will lead? He asked. For this war, Reyes said. Yes. And after? Reyes's eyes softened slightly. After, we survive together. Another alert interrupted the meeting. Chancellor, a dark mass is approaching the Hethar corridor. The Hethar corridor was one of the last major bright regions still active. Millions of refugees were traveling through it. Threx looked at Reyes. Can you intercept? Reyes nodded once. Yes. Her image shifted. Human fleets were already moving, but they did not blaze through hyperspace like Union ships once did. They moved slowly, quietly, using minimal energy bursts. At the center of the Hethar corridor, a massive, artificial power station suddenly activated. It shone brighter than any nearby system. Union officers stared in shock. You are increasing output, one of them asked. Reyes's voice came through calmly. Yes. The dark mass changed direction instantly. It moved toward the artificial star. Hungry, focused. Union ships remained dark, hidden at a distance. Human vessels surrounded the area silently. Gravitational. Anchors ready, a human officer reported. Wait, Reyes ordered. The dark mass reached the artificial star. Energy readings spiked. Space bent inward. The entity anchored itself. Now, Reyes said, human ships fired, not with bright beams, but with heavy mass projectiles and controlled gravity pulses. Space twisted violently around the dark form. For the first time, The entity reacted. It shrank, compressed. A low vibration moved through space. The gravitational trap tightened. The artificial star collapsed inward. The dark mass flickered. Then, it shattered. Not like glass, but like smoke pulled into nothing. The sensor readings dropped. Gone. On every Union screen, officers stared in disbelief. It worked, one whispered. Reyes did not smile. One of them is gone, she said. Many remain. But something had changed. For the first time since the attacks began, the galaxy had struck back. In the council chamber, Threx felt a wave of emotion he had not felt in centuries. Hope. But it came with pain. He looked once more at the empty place where Elias Varen had stood. The ambassador had offered this knowledge freely, and they had answered with execution. Now, the Union followed human commands, not because of weakness but because of truth. Pride had blinded them, and pride had a price. Outside the Hether corridor, more dark shapes moved between stars. The war was far from over. But the galaxy was no longer helpless, because humanity had prepared, not for power, but for survival. The destruction of the first dark mass changed everything. For the first time, the silence had felt resistance. Across the galaxy, systems that had gone dark remained hidden. Refugee fleets drifted quietly between cold stars. Entire civilizations waited without light, without trade, without comfort. But now they had something new. A plan. Admiral Naomi Reyes stood in Earth's Central Command. The room was still dim, but the air felt different. Focused. Human engineers worked on large gravitational trap arrays. Old asteroid belts were converted into weapon fields. Dead moons were hollowed out and turned into bait stations. They did not glow. They waited. A galaxy-wide message was sent through narrow beams to every surviving Union system. Minimal power. Direct. Lines only. The message was simple. Follow Earth protocol. Stay dark. Await signal. Supreme Chancellor Threx repeated the order across the remaining Union worlds. No one argued this time. They had seen what happened to those who shined too brightly. Within weeks, the galaxy looked empty. Trade lanes silent, cities dim, military fleets hidden. Only carefully chosen bait stations lit up one at a time, each one designed by human scientists, each one placed far from major populations, each one a trap. The silence reacted exactly as predicted. Dark masses shifted direction. Whenever a bait star activated, they moved with slow certainty, like predators who had never failed before. The second engagement took place near the broken remains of Karth Prime. Human ships activated an artificial energy core in orbit of the dead world. It burned bright. The nearest dark mass turned immediately. Union observers watched from a safe, low-power distance. The entity approached the glowing core. Space bent around it, gravity shifted. Anchor confirmed, a human officer reported. Reyes gave the command, collapse. Hidden generators activated across the debris field. Massive asteroids, pre-positioned for weeks, were pulled inward by controlled gravity pulses. Space twisted. The dark mass tried to retreat, but this time, it was too late. The artificial core exploded inward, not outward. A crushing force folded space into a tight sphere. For a moment, the dark shape became visible. Not smoke, not shadow, but something solid, ancient, alien. Then it shattered into fragments of light and disappeared. Cheers did not erupt in the human command room, only quiet confirmation. One more neutralized, an officer said. Reyes nodded. Track the others. The silence began to change its behavior. It no longer rushed directly toward every bright signal. It hesitated, studied. It had learned. But humanity had prepared for that too. Some bait stations were fake. Some traps were empty. Some activations were brief flashes meant to test reaction speed. The war became a battle of patience. Weeks turned into months. Every time a dark mass anchored, Human fleets collapsed space around it. Not all traps worked. Sometimes the entity escaped, partially damaged. Sometimes human ships were caught too close and vanished with the enemy. Each loss was heavy. But the numbers were shifting. Slowly, carefully. The silence was shrinking. Across the Union, systems began to whisper about humanity. They had once seen humans as emotional, young, impatient. Now they saw something else. Discipline, endurance, long-term thinking. Chancellor Threx requested permission to visit Earth. Reyes allowed it under strict low-power conditions. Threx arrived in the Sol system with only one escort vessel. As his ship drifted past the silent defense platforms, he felt the weight of what he had once dismissed. Earth was not weak, it was careful. On the surface of Earth, Threx stood before a new monument, a statue of Ambassador Elias Varan. The human stood tall in stone, eyes toward the stars. Below the statue were simple words. He warned them. Threx looked at the carving for a long time. "I ended his life," Threx said quietly to Reyes, who stood beside him. Reyes did not look at him. "He knew the risk," she said. "Does that forgive us?" "No." The answer was calm, but not cruel. Before Threx could respond, an urgent alert reached both of them. "Final cluster detected," a human officer reported through a secure line. "Multiple dark masses converging beyond the galactic rim." Reyes turned immediately. "It is retreating," she said. "Or gathering." She thought silently. The remaining entities were moving toward the outer edge of the galaxy, away from dim systems, away from bait traps, toward deep intergalactic space. Human fleets followed at a distance. Quiet, careful. The final engagement happened at the very edge of known space. No planets nearby, no stars within immediate range, only darkness. Human ships activated the largest artificial energy source ever built. A controlled microstar, it burned brighter than anything the galaxy had seen since the war began. The remaining dark masses reacted instantly. They converged on it together. Hungry, desperate. Space twisted violently as multiple entities anchored at once. "Stability dropping," an officer warned. Reyes stood firm. "Hold formation." Gravitational arrays hidden in surrounding space activated in perfect sequence. Massive fields overlapped. Space folded inward from every direction. The dark masses struggled. For the first time, they emitted something like sound. A deep vibration, felt across hulls and bones. Then the collapse completed. The artificial star imploded. Space sealed itself. Silence returned. Sensors scanned the region. No movement, no distortion, nothing. Minutes passed, then hours. Finally, confirmation. "The cluster is gone," the officer said quietly. No one celebrated loudly. They had learned that survival was not victory. It was responsibility. Weeks later, systems slowly began restoring minimal power. Trade restarted carefully. Energy output remained controlled. The old bright hyperspace lanes were redesigned to be dim and narrow. The galaxy would never shine the same way again. In the council chamber, now rebuilt and quieter, Threx addressed the surviving leaders. "We built our empire on power," he said, "but we survived because of wisdom." He paused. "And because of humanity." Earth did not demand control. It did not claim leadership, but its voice carried weight now. Not because it was loud, but because it had been right. Back on Earth, children played under a sky that still held stars. The defense platforms remained, in orbit. Silent, watching. Humanity did not celebrate loudly, it prepared quietly, because the lesson was clear. The universe was vast, old, and not always empty, and somewhere beyond the rim of the galaxy, in the deep dark between stars, something might still be listening.